All right, guys, welcome to this Untitled Podcast. This is Dave, and that's Kage. We grew up together, and we grew up Star Wars. This is our discussion of The Mandalorian Episode 1 and 2. Okay, hit the hyperdrive, and let's do this thing. All right, so we grew up Star Wars. Growing up, I loved Episode 6, but Episode 1 was the first one I saw in the theater. I loved Episode 1. How do you feel? What was big to you growing up?
Well, I mean, Episode 1 was great. The pod racing and all that. I was actually a fan of Jar Jar as a kid. I still like the idea that he's a Sith Lord, but that theory is unconfirmed. My favorite was Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, but that's because I'm a giant nerd for anything that happened in the Clone Wars. So, yeah.
For sure. I mean, I love Grievous. Grievous is awesome. Growing up, you said pod racing. I think I have a huge soft spot for pod racing. Anything pod racing. Give me a pod racing movie. Let's do Fast and the Furious pod racing. I'm down. Like, whatever, But Darth Maul, I mean, Duel of the Fates, Qui-Gon, I love that movie. It gets harped sometimes for trade negotiations, but it's an awesome movie, especially as a kid.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of sets the stage for everything else. I understand that the original trilogy was not the first three, but that's the beginning. That's kind of what sets everything in motion. So I'd say that's pretty important.
Speaking of the original trilogy, what did you like of the original ones? What's your favorite?
Honestly, I think the Battle of Hoth. Just watching all the ships.
Empire Strikes Back.
But yeah, I mean that's the primary thing for me, I'd say.
I loved Return of the Jedi as a kid. I mean, Return of the Jedi was just so cool. I mean, you've got Boba Fett, I love the Ewoks. I love everything,
Jawas, Ewoks, all the small races of alien, those are all fun.
I agree. So we both played the games growing up, though. I know we both played Jedi Knight Academy, pod racing on the N64. When you would bring that over, that was huge to me. But you played a lot of the other ones, too, right?
Oh, yeah, the Knights of the Old Republic, like 1 and 2, those were a lot of fun. Star Wars Galaxies, the MMO. I mean, you and I tried out the, rebuilt servers, and that's a thing. Yeah, I mean, if there was a Star Wars game out there, I probably tried it out. The RTS game, that was an experience. So yeah,
yeah. I mean, I love it. And in recent years, we've both, Clone Wars, Rebels, all the recent movies, of course. We're up to speed on all that good stuff.
Yeah, yeah, we are.
Exactly. All right, so Episode 1 of The Mandalorian. Plot synopsis. Mando is searching for another Mandalorian. He encounters Cobb Vanth wearing Boba Fett's armor in a mining town, Mos Pago. He makes a deal to take out the Crate Dragon in exchange for the armor. Tell me, what'd you think? I mean, what are your first thoughts? What did you think of Cobb Vanth?
Cobb Vanth. I like that he leads off right off the bat with Mando. He explains who he is. He pretty much gets into he's not a Mandalorian and how he bought the armor off Jawas. Well, I wouldn't say bought, more like trade. But
trade for sure, yeah.
But I would say that. Yeah, go ahead.
I was very glad that he was not Boba Fett right when I met him. I was like, he's not my Boba Fett. He
was way too young to be Boba Fett. Boba Fett would have to be a lot older than that, I would imagine.
For sure. But he did have one thing that I thought was extremely cool. And I think you probably agreed on this. The speeder.
Yeah. The speeder bike, it looked like a Podracer engine. Immediately, that was the first thing I noticed. Right out of the gates, and I couldn't tell. I don't know if I've ever seen it in any other Star Wars media where they use a Podracer engine for.
I was so excited right away when I saw it. I was right away favorite thing I've seen so far this season.
It looks a lot like Anakin's almost, or maybe it's just a throwback to it because it's got those flaps right on the front of it. And I don't remember who else really had that. I don't think Sebulba did, but
Definitely not.
That almost seems so much more dangerous to ride than a speeder bike. I don't know. It's just super cool though.
It's very cool, on an outskirts town like that. That's exactly what they might have, and it makes total sense that you would see it here on Tatooine.
I'm hoping that we get to see more of it, honestly. I'm hoping maybe they'll make a reference to pod racing at some point through the series, or that, I don't know, maybe even if they show me just a broken down wreck of a pod racer, I would be so happy with that. Like it out in the middle of Tatooine that was part of a track, maybe.
Give me more pod racing.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything. I will take it. If you get one thing from this podcast, more pod racing, please. Furthermore, though, the Crate Dragon. I know that you have run into him before, and you've seen this. And so tell me a little bit more about this.
The one thing about the Crate Dragon is it seems to be portrayed pretty differently throughout different Star Wars media. For instance, I was expecting in this one that I would have seen some legs, maybe a tail, something that looks more like a dragon without wings. This one we get just a head slinking out of a tunnel like a big snake, and occasionally out of the back of a mountain. But it definitely, the head looks somewhat similar to what's portrayed in other games. For instance, we have Star Wars Galaxies, sans horns, and longer neck. But other than that, we got Knights of the Old Republic, which, I mean, that's got the long neck. It's just got horns. And that's coming out of a hole in the back, a cave in the back in the screenshot anyways. The crate dragon, I'm wondering if they just took creative liberties on making the crate dragon in The Mandalorian, or if maybe they have different subspecies. I don't know if we've ever seen different subspecies shown throughout the different Star Wars universe, I guess, different planets and whatnot.
He is very old, too. They say that he has been terrorizing that town for a long time. So maybe, you're seeing youth, or, this is maybe a very, due to age almost,
This one is definitely significantly bigger than the ones portrayed in the games. In Star Wars Galaxies, I mean, you wouldn't be able to fit a whole bantha inside of its mouth. You stood up to, I don't know, about its shoulders, I guess, whatever the front.
I would imagine a youth,
Yeah,
for sure.
That would definitely make sense. But
so, Tatooine, this is a planet that we are seeing, I mean, it is built through all the years, and it is, I love Tatooine, I don't know, I think everyone does. Something that I really love recently, though, is seeing some of the races that we know and love, but expanding on what it's like to be with them. In season 1, you saw the Jawas, but right now you're seeing those Tuscan Raiders. And I loved that life with Tuscan Raiders. I love that they built on the communication. I love that Mando knew how to interact with Tuscan Raiders. That's so cool.
Yeah. The sign language, and just he knew their culture. He knew exactly what to like. It's almost as if he spent time with them. I'd be interested if they would expand on that. Maybe show some more of Mando's past, because we really don't know a whole lot about him other than how he became a Mandalorian, how he was taken in. But other than that, I mean, they haven't covered his training or anything like that.
Yeah. And, I think, like I said, Jawas, I've always loved Jawas. But I was interested, after seeing that they had Boba Fett's armor. These are scavengers. They're everywhere. What else might they have found on Tatooine through all the years? In watching Rebels, that Tatooine is Maul's final resting place. His lightsaber may be there. I don't know what Obi-Wan does with that. He probably takes care of it. I don't know. But maybe not.
That's actually
what else
a really
have they
good point.
found?
I mean, that I would throwing back to the Podracer conversation. I mean, I would love to see them scavenging. That would be a good way to throw it in. Show them scavenging a Podracer, or I mean, you see the Jawas in season 1, if I remember correctly. Are those Jawas disassembling Mando's ship at one point?
Yeah.
So I mean, they grab whatever they can. If it looks like it's any sort of tech, they want it. And I mean, that would be amazing if they had Maul's saber or any other throwback to the movies. The series is riddled with Easter eggs, and I absolutely love it. Who knows what else they'll show us later.
So, the big thing going on this season, when you exit season 1, Mando has been created by the armorer to return the child to his home. And any speculations on where that might be?
I mean, my guess would be Dagobah, considering that's the only place we know of where Yoda's from. That's where Yoda was found, and I believe he went back there. Am I correct in that?
He definitely goes back there in the original trilogy. I will. In the original trilogy, you don't see much of Dagobah, and you don't get the vibe that there's other people living there. But I would love to see that. That would be so cool.
Dagobah seems to be a relatively uninhabited planet, or unmapped, I guess. So I mean, they never really expanded on that. I don't know if there's books that cover it, but I would imagine Yoda can't be the only of his kind stranded on this one planet. And considering we've never seen it anywhere else, even his race, in any other planet or any other, like, it's not in Rebels, it's not in Clone Wars, it's not in any of the animated series. So that's the only place that makes sense.
I concur. I mean, I think that's where you might end up. I guess time will tell. But this episode, at the very end, something happens that everyone is talking about. Who is this guy?
You mean Boba? Or at least I think it's Boba 100%.
He's got to be Boba Fett. If you've done your research, this actor, he is someone to the Star Wars universe already. Yeah,
he is spotted in the Clone Wars in Episode 2, talking to Obi-Wan Kenobi on the clone, at the clone facility, and
you might have seen this guy before.
Yeah, Jango Fett, and so I mean, there's definitely a similarity between those two faces. I'd say aged up, he's lost a little bit of hair. I mean, maybe got eaten by a Sarlacc. I don't know. But I'm pretty confident that this is Boba Fett, and we're gonna see him later in the series. I mean, Tatooine seems to be a place that Mando keeps returning to. So I mean, who's to say that Boba's not gonna be waiting for him? Or I don't know, Boba's somehow on his ship. I guess my question would be, if this is Boba, or even if he's not Boba, why is this dude just watching him? Why does he care?
I think it is Boba. I think Boba probably wants his armor back. First off, that'd be key to me. But I think that right now, there's a lot going on with Disney world building for Star Wars, and there's this rumor, this big, pretty much confirmed, that there's going to be a Boba Fett series. I think that we're going to see Boba Fett this season. That's already pretty much said. And I think that we're going to see that Boba Fett's not a bad guy. I think that he may have a redemption arc this season. Or if not this season, we're going to learn about him in his own show.
Do you really think Boba is a bad guy, though? I mean, yes, he's a bounty hunter. He worked for Jabba, crime lord. However, I mean, what makes him any worse than, say, like Han Solo, who's smuggling? Han Solo is by definition a criminal. I don't know if bounty hunting is considered a crime.
I don't think he's a bad guy, but I think that if you live in if you're playing with your action figures and you got the good guys and the bad guys, What side's Boba Fett on?
I don't think he's on any side. I think it depends who he's hunting at the time.
Good for you.
He's a bounty hunter. He goes, who's paying him the most?
I would say a bad guy. I would say a bad guy.
I mean, that's a fair point.
All right.
I don't think bounty hunters care what side they're on. It's who's paying them the most. But if they're going to do a series on him, I mean, do you think they're going to cover it from the Clone Wars up? So as he grew up, joining getting trained potentially within the Imperial ranks, and then working for different groups all the way up to Jabba, until he gets eaten by the Sarlacc, or do you think they'll go beyond that? How did he survive? And do you think he'll interact with Mando even in his own series? Are they going to have a crossover somewhere?
I would hope that his own series is further back. Honestly, I would like to see what happened. I don't know, in a period of his life that we don't know too much about. Honestly, that would be really fun to me. I definitely think that it's obvious how he survived the Sarlacc pit. That armor's tough. You've seen Mando. Mando used it to go in that Great Dragon.
That's true. And he could somehow survive the stomach acid that it was just puking all over people, and it was melting them like instantly. That was nuts. So I mean, Beskar armor apparently is pretty much invincible. It makes you invincible. You can take
it's the stuff to have.
Well, he takes a blaster. Well, he does. But the Marshal, in his background story, you see him walk in and get blasted in the chest, and he's just like, not a big deal. Bang, bang, bang. All right, cool. I'm the Marshal. This is my town.
Exactly.
So I didn't think that the Marshal would have given up the armor that quick, that easily. I thought that maybe there'd be a little bit more of a fight to it, but I respect that he did. I do have a question for you about him, though.
Yes.
Do you think he'll be a returning character or a reoccurring character in the series? Kind of like, I unfortunately forget her name, but he had the old Cara Dune. Thank you. Cara Dune was a reoccurring character throughout season 1. Who's to say that, the Marshal Cobb Vanth won't be back?
Yes, I do think that he is forming a posse of sorts, and you will see him again.
Okay. I wonder if he...
In fact, you may even see him... this is a brand new thought of mine here, but you may even see him wearing improved Mandalorian armor. He might come back with that armor.
I don't think he will. I don't think he can. He's not a true Mandalorian. There's no way Mando would allow it. We don't even know.
That's a very good.
We don't even know if Boba shows up, if he'll give Boba the armor back. Is Boba a true Mandalorian? He might. Jango, his father, may have had roots to the Mandalorians, but I don't. True. I mean, here's Boba without his helmet. I don't think he would even give Boba his armor back.
So, episode 2.
All right, episode 2.
What do you think? Right away. First off, let me give you the plot synopsis. Okay, Mando is tasked with transporting Frog Lady, which that's what my subtitles called her, to another planet to fertilize her eggs in exchange for information for another Mandalorian's location.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about the episode?
So the episode didn't really feel like it built up anything too important. It felt more like it was a fun, easygoing episode. It kind of had its moments where things get obviously a little tense, but there wasn't a huge event really taking place, in my opinion. The episode itself, I believe, was riddled with Easter eggs and a lot of egg eating puns, as well.
Just eggs everywhere.
Yeah, I think that was the theme. I think the episode was called like Hard-Boiled Eggs or something like that. I might have to go back and check. But I believe
it should have been called Baby Yoda's Breakfast. Okay.
I wouldn't breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Maybe even fourth meal. I don't know. But I mean, yeah. It's help me transport these eggs. All right, no problem.
All right. So I'll be honest with you. I was distracted by Baby Yoda, which doesn't happen for me often. He's a cute guy, but he's not really my thing, in the show. But This episode, he got me. I was distracted by that little guy eating those eggs. And I didn't see all these Easter eggs that they're supposed to be out there. So, what did I miss? I mean, what happened?
Well, I mean, the first thing that really got me thinking was the X-wing pilots that approach Mando when they're mad at him. Well, not mad at him, but they want him to ping their transponders. And I was like, all right, who are these guys? Is this a throwback to the old actors by chance? Or who are these actors? I feel like they have to be someone important or someone notable. And that's the part where I had to start looking into it. And turns out two of them are big known people. One of them isn't really a one of them, it's their first Star Wars entrance it's their first entrance into the Star Wars universe as a character. However, this character right here on the screen, do you recognize him at all?
I knew he was from something, and I don't know what.
That is Dave Filoni. He gave himself a cameo.
Oh my goodness.
He gave himself a cameo in this episode, and I don't know. I love it. I love it.
Well, you know how I feel about Dave Filoni, but for everyone else, I think this guy should pretty much take over for Star Wars because everything he touches is good, in my opinion. Clone Wars, Rebels, Mandalorian. Let's take over, man.
I think he carries everything in the right direction. Everything flows really well, and I don't really have any arguments about anything he's done so far. In my honest opinion, I would have loved to see him do the latest trilogy, but it is what it is.
If you guys haven't seen out there, go look for him talking to George Lucas or about him talking about George Lucas, and you would just feel so inspired about Star Wars. He gets it. This guy gets it. I did not know that. That is so cool.
Yeah, it's just nuts. It's nuts. I was so happy when I found out that that's who it was. I knew I had seen him somewhere. I just couldn't figure out. Maybe it's the visor and the helmet. It's covering up too much of his face. One of the other things, it was Dr. Mandible, and I thought I originally took notes about this just because we've never seen anyone like Dr. Mandible in any Star Wars media. Not that I'm aware of, anyways. I've never seen a bug quite like him talking or interacting with anybody. And Dr. Mandible is actually a nod towards the director, Peyton Reed, who directed Ant-Man. So all the Ant-Man movies. So they kind of threw that in as a nod towards Ant-Man. And that's just it's just a fun little Easter egg that they added in. The last one that I mostly took notes of were the spider creatures that they ended up fighting and eating. If you're Baby Yoda? Yeah, if you're the child, then you're eating spider eggs, which I don't know. I don't know about that.
Not spider eggs. The frog lady eggs.
No. When she's in the hot spring with the baby or with the eggs, Baby Yoda wanders up.
Yes.
It cracks open a spider egg and just mows down on a baby spider. And
that's true.
I thought maybe Baby Yoda only ate frogs. I mean, Dagobah, Swamp Planet. If I remember correctly, they do have frog background noise when Luke is there with Yoda, and that part made sense. But then he's eating spiders, and that's not okay. In my opinion, I guess
I love it.
To each their own. But these spiders, they were called the Krykna in Star Wars Rebels. And they were kind of a reoccurring character throughout Rebels, and I think that the ones in The Mandalorian are the same thing. They're just a subspecies, a different subspecies in the ice planet. They look almost exactly the same. However, I don't think any of the ones from Rebels were big enough to punch a hole in a cockpit.
I knew we had seen them before, and they can be ferocious. That's for sure.
Yeah, I felt like I was watching like the movie Eight-Legged Freaks or something like that, with all the spiders just coming in. So it was a fun scene. It was a very tense scene of him them getting locked in the ship, fighting off all the spiders. I think that's really cool. Dave Filoni comes to the rescue with his partner. I unfortunately don't remember
That's
the other
awesome.
actor's name, but it was just a fun episode. And then they let him go. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Them letting him go, I think, actually goes more into Star Wars lore. Because one of the scenes, or one of the lines they specifically say is, "It's tough times right now." You have to keep in mind that The Mandalorian is set after the fall of Vader and around the time of the New Republic coming into power, I guess. They're still hunting down Imperials. They're looking for their strongholds. I mean, that's why they pinged the Mandalorian's ship. I can't remember the name of it. So I mean, yeah, they're struggling to hold or even take power potentially over, all of the systems. So I think that really kind of builds on that world building that you were mentioning before. It's the fall of Vader. They're having trouble keeping hold of everything. I mean, you saw Mando in season 1 hop on that prisoner ship without too much issue, and that was all by the New Republic. So I
Yeah.
that's the only real world building lore that I really saw in the episode. That's not to say that there's probably more hidden in there. I'm certain there are more Easter eggs that I missed, but those were the three primary ones that I really got noted.
Hey, if anyone's watching this, leave it in the comments below. If you've seen something that we missed, something that you know about, let us know. But yes, you've got a couple stills here of the guy, the legend, the egg thief. Look at this guy.
No. I did not like him eating the eggs. I didn't.
I love it.
It made me feel so bad. Like, this lady's desperately trying. Frog Lady. I wish she had an actual name. She's desperately trying to get to another system, trying to get her kids, like her eggs, fertilized so she can have her kids, because this is the end of her family line. These are the last eggs she says that she's going to have in her lifetime. Like, this is her last chance. And here we got this baby, like, do. Hey, what's this? Hey, breakfast. And then the one thing that I guess really gets me as well is he uses the Force against the eggs. He sticks his hand up on top of the against the capsule, and you hear the noise that they play when he's using, like, when any of the Force moves, and he just sucks an egg. He sucks all the eggs up to the glass. So he's probably using them just to rip them up out of the top of the capsule. Like, how else is he sneaking them out of the hot spring right in front of Egg Lady or Frog Lady? I don't know, but somebody's got to teach this kid how to use the Force correctly. Like, is he going to be... what side is he going to take? Because right now he's definitely leaning towards the dark. I mean, who just goes and Force chokes somebody? I honestly wouldn't have been surprised if he Force choked Frog Lady so she couldn't stop him from taking eggs. I mean, the very end, he's sitting there slurping the last one up.
As I was watching it, I did not realize that he was using the Force, and it wasn't until later that I realized this. And I will tell you, that's not the correct way to use the Force. I have to agree. I have to agree on this. It's a concerning path that he's taking, but I still love it. I still, it was my favorite thing. I got distracted this episode watching it.
So I do have a question for you in terms of the child and the way things are going.
Yes.
I'm not quite sure how quickly Yoda's race ages, but what do you think the future of the child's going to be? Do you think he's just going to get returned and that's going to be it?
Well, he's 50 years old, and Yoda... I think you start hearing about him in the High Republic. I might be wrong about this. In the High Republic, around his years of like 600, maybe even a little bit younger than that. So I think he's probably got some growing up to do before he's ready to start the new High Council. But
well, do you think?
I don't know.
I guess what I'm thinking is I do wonder. Maybe Mando's going to get attached to him towards the end, or vice versa. And Mando's like, all right, here you go. whether we found your parents or not, this is where you live. You're free. Be free. Run free.
You know
and then
what? Okay.
the kid comes back and he teaches him to be a Mandalorian. You have a Mando helmet with little green ears sticking out.
Baby Yoda's not going anywhere. Okay, I think we all know why. Okay, because he is a huge hit, and even if they find his home, they're saying, you know what, you're coming with us. Mandalorian season 3 needs you, Baby Yoda.
We'll see if they get that far. Maybe they'll complete his journey in season 2. I don't know. We'll just have to see.
Exactly. All right, guys. I think that about wraps that up for this episode. And don't forget, this is not the podcast that you were looking for.